Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Henry, Alameda's Public Information Officer. We've publicly noticed this weekly meeting to allow members of the City Council to attend, and joining us today are Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft and Councilmember Jim Odie, and possibly other members of the Council will join later as well. We're also recording this meeting and we'll post it up on the City's website after the meeting today. Today, for the first half hour, we're honored to have State Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara join us to offer remarks, and following his remarks, Kathy Weber, Executive Director of DABA, will moderate a Q&A. Then at 2:30, I'll give a brief update from the City's Emergency Operations Center. Eric Fonstein will give an update regarding economic development, and Kathy Weber will continue to facilitate questions from all of you. Ricardo Lara is California's 8th elected insurance commissioner, and as leader of the nation's largest state consumer protection agency, he's charged with protecting California consumers. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he has been busier than ever. The commissioner has taken action to protect consumers, workers, and businesses. Among other actions, on Monday, April 13th, the insurance commissioner ordered insurance companies to return a percentage of premiums to businesses and drivers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. On Tuesday, April 14th, he required companies to comply with their contracts in California law by fairly investigating all business interruption claims caused by the COVID-19 crisis, just as they would for any disaster. And while businesses have encountered problems in the past following wildfires or other disasters, we have seen nothing on this scale, with thousands of businesses closed and drastically reducing payroll. I'm honored to now turn today's town hall over to Commissioner Lara to provide resources and answer your questions.
Okay, I'm unmuted, right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember. It's great to be here with you, and to everybody, welcome. It's really an honor for me to be here and share with you some thoughts on what we're working on and be able to answer some of your questions. You know, our local leaders are really at the forefront of making these critical decisions as we look ahead to getting our economy back on track. And as Sarah mentioned, on April 13th, I ordered insurance companies to return a portion of premiums to businesses and our private passenger drivers affected by the COVID pandemic. And the order covers, you know, you've been hearing primarily about, you know, the California drivers, but it really covers 6 lines of different insurance. Obviously, it covers private passenger automobile insurance. It covers commercial automobile insurance for those businesses that have commercial automobile insurance. Workers' compensation insurance, commercial multi-peril insurance, commercial liability insurance, and medical malpractice insurance for a lot of our healthcare businesses who are no longer doing the selective surgeries, and therefore the risk has fallen as well. So, you know, that includes our dentists, our psychiatrists, psychologists, podiatrists, you name it. As business owners, you shouldn't have to do anything to receive the refund, and the insurance companies must provide this relief as soon as possible. We are also going to be requiring for the insurance companies to give us that data on how they determine that percentage of the refund, and we're going to look at it and see if it's actually sound and if it makes sense for the individual policy. So you can imagine policies vary by company, and each contract is different. And in many cases, you will be receiving a percentage of your premiums for March and April. I'm about to send out a notice for May as well as these stay-at-home orders continue. This really builds on the action that I took in March to request insurance companies that at a minimum give us a 60-day grace period for businesses to pay premiums as well. And many insurance companies have honored that request by offering flexibility to consumers and businesses during the national emergency. We're also preparing to update that notice as the 60 days are about to quickly expire. Just know that we're constantly trying to make sure that, one, we get money back in your pocket that you need, so desperately need, and that we give you some sort of reprieve from all these insurance bills and premiums that you have to cover on a daily basis as a business owner. Again, we are emphasizing to the insurance companies that this is not anything as work as normal. Your risk has completely, gone down given the stay-at-home orders, and therefore your premiums should reflect that for the months that we are in the stay-at-home orders. I've also learned that some insurance companies are just flat out denying business insurance claims without a thorough investigation or even discouraging a lot of our businesses from even filing a claim. That is completely unacceptable. And so we, on April 14th, in response to numerous complaints from your local mayor, your council members, and various other stakeholders, I am requiring companies, insurance companies, to comply with their contracts and California law by fairly investigating every single business interruption claim caused by COVID-19, just as they would any other disaster, be it a flood, a fire. And my department will be making sure that they do so. I also want to just quickly, before I wrap up, also just want to urge all businesses to be on the lookout for fraud and insurance scams. This is unfortunately the time when we start seeing a lot of these scams come to fruition, unfortunately, and try to prey on people that are vulnerable and are just desperate to try to keep their businesses going. And please report any suspicious activity to the Department of Insurance. We have, many people don't know that we have over 300 sworn investigators and enforcement personnel in our department with 9 regional offices. The office that serves our Alameda communities is served by our Golden Gate office in Benicia, where we have staff there ready to answer any questions as well. And here are some points for our small business owners and managers to keep in mind to help protect your interests as you do business during the uncertainty really surrounding COVID-19. We're asking people to be on alert for those offering bogus workers' compensation policies, verify the legitimacy of the selling agent and the policy offered. You can verify the agent's license on our website, and you can contact your insurance company to directly verify if the policy is actually real. Be on alert for fraudulent workers' compensation claims by employees that may occur as a result of layoffs or COVID-19 related illnesses. And of course, we're happy to help, and please report any suspect insurance scams and fraud by calling our department at 1-800-927-4357, or you can do that through our website at insurance.ca.gov. We've transitioned the majority of our staff to telework and in support of the governor's stay-at-home directives. But we continue to provide essential services for California consumers and our business owners. Again, we are available via phone. And I know some of you might have some anxiety calling a 1-800 number, as I did before, but I can guarantee you we have live people answering your calls. We have insurance experts that can help you through your claim, help you, assess you and give you the direction that you might need, or help you understand your policy. Many times people call in and are trying to figure out what their coverage is and what things mean in certain parts of your policy. We understand that these are difficult, and so we encourage people to definitely call us. And again, I have my staff available, Tony Signorelli and Bryant Henley from our office, to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you again for inviting us to be here, Mayor and City Council members and City staff.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Lara, for being here. We greatly appreciate your time.
So I think go ahead, Kathy. I think some questions have already been submitted that would love to get your feedback on.
Yes. So one of the questions is there a risk to holding off submitting a business interruption claim if at this point there's no clear indication of coverage or loss?
No, that's a great question. My recommendation is that you should not wait to file a claim. There could be deadlines to file, and you don't want to miss them. While many commercial policies have terms and exclusions that create a challenge to getting claims paid under business interruption coverage, not all policies are the same, as I mentioned before. We would also need to look at your specific policy to better understand, what coverages and exclusions may exist. If you do have a business interruption policy, your insurance company but your insurance company is telling you that these losses are not covered due to the exclusion in your policy, we recommend that you file a formal claim with your insurance company. Insurance companies are legally required to fairly investigate your claim and to formally respond back to you with their coverage decision. And the reason for any denials that they may make, this is important to create that paper trail. I'm going to have Tony Signorelli, my Deputy Commissioner for Consumer Services, provide more details as he deals with this every day with his team, with many business owners across California. Tony, are you there?
Yes, I am, Commissioner. Thank you. You pretty much covered it all, but I would like to add that, as we all know, with these commercial and business policies, they're pretty complicated. They're pretty long. There's a lot of different parts to them where you have coverage and it takes away coverage, and sometimes it brings back coverage. And so some of the exclusions that we're talking about here include the virus exclusion, which is a key one that we need to look at. But we need to look at whether it pertains to the specific business interruption coverage or other parts of your policy. So that's one reason why the Commissioner mentioned we need to look at each individual policy to see which pieces and which exclusions apply to which coverages. There's also other challenges such as direct physical loss to the insured property, whether it be on the business interruption side or the civil authority side. And so those are exclusions and other hurdles there, but we would need to look at a specific policy just to make sure that those hurdles, if they exist in your policy for that particular coverage. And as the Commissioner mentioned, please file a formal claim. And then if you are denied that claim by the insurance company, come to us, file a complaint. We call a request for assistance with us, either by calling us or going to our website. And then we'll review that with one of our experts. And then we'll work through that case with you and with the insurance company to make sure we're all on the same page as to what you're covered for and what you might not be covered for.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have a second question that asks you to please comment on the insurance company's denial of business interruption claims and the class action suit filed by
And what was the last part, Mayor?
the class action suit filed by insurers.
Oh, okay. I think the reason I was trying to understand your question is there are several recent class action suits filed against insurers by attorneys. In addition to the challenges in getting coverage for business interruption, as I mentioned in the last question, we know that there's several lawsuits in the state and in other states, and we are closely monitoring these cases, which require our courts to be the fact finder and analyze the terms in each unique insurance policy and determine what caused the business to suffer the losses. So, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on any particular pending lawsuit, but these cases will be determined in the court of law, as we know, and in general, this litigation is a stark reminder to us all to read your insurance policy that you decide to purchase. And again, we can help you with that and help navigate, the complexities of these insurance policies. And if necessary, consult with an insurance specialist to make sure your policy fully covers the business risk you assume you are insured against. And this is not just on business interruption. This is also a warning and a heed to our consumers that are trying to rebuild their homes after the fire, after a flood, or after any other catastrophe. So often it's heartbreaking to see people assuming that they're covered when in reality, they're only covered for a specific portion. And so, I appreciate the question, but know that these legal matters, and I'm sure the mayor and the council and staff can appreciate me not being able to comment. Yep. But why don't I have my special counsel, Bryant Henley, provide any further information that we can share. Bryant?
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for having us here today, Mayor and distinguished guests. As the Commissioner said, certainly it is true that whether we're talking about business interruption policies or any type of insurance policy, it's so very important that you read that policy. It can be complex, and our agency can help you parse the terms of the policy, but it's important to know what your coverage provides. And we've seen in our state and around the nation dozens of lawsuits concerning the business interruption insurance issues. California is no exception to that litigation. And as has been true in other states, we've seen that a substantial majority of commercial insurance policies sold here in California, they specifically do exclude viruses from the scope of covered events. Now, although this is true for most policies, it's not true for all. Indeed, the terms of some insurance policies raise an open question about whether COVID-19 and the stay-at-home public health orders might properly trigger coverage under a business interruption policy. So again, as Commissioner Lara said, it's so important for you to read your policy, to consult with the department if you're unclear about the terms of that policy. But because these are questions of contract interpretation, if an insurer asserts that a policy does not cover a particular business loss, it is up to our judicial branch of government or our court system to ultimately determine whether coverage exists under a given policy. And Kathy, I'll turn it back to you for other questions.
Okay, thank you. And then the question is, do you think it is useful, and would you support, recommend, and encourage the Alameda City Council, as well as other California cities and county boards of supervisors and the state's Senate, to pass a resolution about business insurance interruption similar to the one below? And I'll just read it quickly. The resolution to be sent to the members of the California congressional delegation, to the majority and minority of both houses of Congress and the White House. Whereas many small businesses have been paying for business interruption insurance, whereas many small businesses face total failure because of the catastrophic losses due to COVID-19, whereas insurance companies refuse to cover losses caused by COVID-19 under our business interruption policies. Therefore, we, the Downtown Alameda Business Association, recommends Congress to enact a resolution similar to the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, the TIRA, that was passed after 9/11 to, one, have insurance companies provide coverage for business interruption losses caused by COVID-19 and government shelter-in-place orders. Two, involve the government, insurance industry, and FEMA in assisting the survival of our small business. And three, pass a stimulus bill to provide assistance to insurance industry in order to cover small businesses who employ less than 100 people and who had business interruption insurance but have not been able to collect.
Yeah, this is, again, I would say, I respect the authority of our local leaders to determine what is best for their communities and whether, Alameda should issue a resolution and what that contents of the resolution should include are questions for our local leadership that I will defer to. And these are important policy questions that can have consequences for our community and in terms of, I don't want to tell our local governments what to do, but I will tell you that this is a massive problem to the likes of what we've never seen before. And so we're all trying to figure out what's the best way to support our businesses, our business owners, as well as our schools and so forth. And this is something that we're talking at a national level to the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. And we're trying to push not only the government for more of those grant dollars, but what I would say, this is such an issue of such magnitude. All levels of government are grappling with these questions, and we're going to have to come together in our capacity as government officials. We need to do this in a way that's cohesive and unified. Early in the crisis, I wrote a letter urging the federal stimulus funds to be used to support small businesses. And we worked with our governor to hope to do that. And it looks like we're going to have to probably do that again. And my staff can share that with you as well, and I hope we already have. And I wish there could be an easy solution, but again, since it's a private contract with the business and the insurance company, it makes it a little more complicated. And I wish there would be an easier solution, but we're going to need federal and state action in order to help our local governments and our local small businesses. So it's a little bit more complicated. And of course, we're not going to stand in the way of our local leaders from doing the important work that they need to do to advocate for their businesses. So that's some thoughts that I have on that issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think those are all of the prepared questions that we had received, but one of the things, and we deeply appreciate your time today, and we know you only have a few more minutes. We were wondering if you could talk about some of the biggest concerns that you've been hearing about from residents and especially from businesses, from business owners. If you could let us know what are some of the concerns that other folks are having, that would be really appreciated.
No, absolutely. Tony, why don't I have you start with the answer to this question, given that your team has been really at the forefront of collecting the data and what these issues that are coming up look like in the entire state?
Yes, Commissioner. Really, the big one, obviously, as we just talked about earlier, is business interruption claims themselves and some other claims that are out there, whether it be in the health insurance side and other areas of insurance. But in addition to claims, we have been receiving complaints on the availability and affordability side. So, for example, a business is up for renewal with their insurance company, and either because of COVID-19 or for other reasons, they're either going to not be renewed and they're going to need to go find other coverage, which could be more expensive. Or in some cases, the insurance company is willing to renew you, but at a much higher premium than the past year's premiums were. And so those are really issues that we're digging into now to kind of evaluate what we can do to assist. And a little bit of kind of some information on that side would be, there are two general types of insurance companies: admitted companies that are expressly licensed by us, that we have a lot of authority over and we regulate to a higher degree. And there are what's called non-admitted or surplus lines insurance companies. Surplus lines and non-admitted insurance companies insure some of the more riskier businesses. And it could be, nursing homes, dry cleaners, other businesses where there are certain either liability or physical environmental risks that may exist. A lot of those companies can't get insurance in the traditional market, so they've had to go to the non-admitted market. And so what we're seeing a lot of our complaints come in are those types of businesses who are either being non-renewed by those non-admitted companies or seeing high price increases because in the non-admitted market, there isn't the same rate control and rate regulation as there is in the admitted licensed market. Those are just some of the major issues.
Yeah, and I would also add, since the Governor Newsom's May 6th executive order regarding workers' compensation eligibility for workers who were exposed or contract COVID-19, we've been getting some inquiries from businesses in terms of what does this mean for the workers' comp system, and what are the real tangible things that need to happen in order to be able to have that presumption. And what we tell businesses is that this is a rebuttable presumption, meaning that employers will have a chance to prove that the illness is not work-related, and the presumption will stay in place for 60 days from the date of the executive order. It's also important to note that we will take some time to see the impact of COVID-19 on our workers' compensation system. Businesses that are closed or have drastically reduced payrolls may see their workers' compensation insurance costs reduced in the short term. And in my April 13th order of premium rebates includes workers' compensation insurance for that same reason. We still don't know what the overall impact is going to be. But also, one last tip before I have to sign off is, if you give your updated payroll and your payroll receipts and have a conversation with your insurance provider, you can also probably get a bigger discount as well. So, make that effort, show them your updated payroll receipts, your updated expenses, and you may qualify for an even bigger discount during these times. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again, Commissioner, for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, we put up the hotline up in the chat feature so everybody has that, and we'll be publishing it on the city's website and social media as well. We really appreciate your time. Just our deep gratitude for you and your staff to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Take care. Stay safe. Wear your masks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So now we'll go on to the second part of Tuesdays at 2. This is Tuesdays at 2:30. And I'm still Sarah Henry, your Public Information Officer. And so just a quick update from me. As you know, the Bay Area is moving slower than other regions in the state toward reopening. Our region started with a higher disease burden than the rest of the state, which is the reason for our tighter restrictions. Today, the governor announced new guidelines for restaurants reopening, which is exciting. But of course, that is applied statewide, but Navajo County is moving a little bit slower. So as soon as we have an updated health order from the county, we'll be sharing those details with you as soon as we receive them. Meantime, for the state's Great Plates program, we sent a link yesterday to a form for food providers who are interested in providing meals to complete. So we strongly recommend you complete that form if you're interested. And if you have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help. It was great to have the Insurance Commissioner today as our guest, and we'd love to know if there are other folks you'd like to hear from. So please, please let us know. And with that, I'll go ahead and just say thank you all for being here each week. We love seeing you. It really is, it's a highlight of our week. And I'll turn it over now to Eric Fonstein.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Apologize, there's some road work going on. Just started like 2 minutes ago.
It's now allowed, Eric.
So we also have Amanda Gurkey from Community Development here as well, and Lois Butler. Just to be really quick and brief, so last Thursday was the deadline for submitting small business relief grant program applications. We received 236 applications. We're reviewing them now, and we'll be awarding up to 80 grants, and those announced grant awards will be announced on May 21st. We're also currently researching developing a community fund, and we'll present more information when we have it and it's fully researched. We're also working very closely with the business districts on developing temporary zoning measures to open up the public space and public right-of-ways for social distancing and to help local storefronts to expand the areas for their customers out into the public right-of-ways. And finally, this Thursday night at 6 o'clock, we'll be having a special meeting of the Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Panel, where we'll be talking about the creation of a economic recovery task force. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put my email address in the chat, and we'll be doing public comments through email. So if you want to send those comments to me as well. So thank you very much. On to, I think, Kathy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. It's nice to see you, see everyone at Tuesdays at 2:30. We are opening questions. You can put them in the chat box as usual. I also have a couple of questions that have been submitted, so I guess we can just start with this. Is there a list of signage requirements that businesses must post upon reopening? And what will reopening regulations be like?
So I'll take a stab at that. I do believe there is some signage available from County Public Health, but I'm making a note to ask about that, because yes, when you reopen, and even now, there are guidelines for, you must distance yourself and wear a mask in grocery stores and all. So signage for when businesses are reopened is the question?
Yes.
Okay. I will look into that.
I'll just add to that. There is, and then I see Councilmember Odie has a comment too. There is on the Alameda County Public Health Department acphd.org site. There are examples of signage for current businesses that are currently able to open. So that signage is made available by the county, and I imagine they'll be adding it too. But there is for businesses that are able to be open right now, there is existing signage available.
Thanks.
And I was just going to add that it could have been while we were talking, but the governor just released his requirements for restaurants to reopen.
Yeah,
so
Sarah
those
mentioned it.
guidelines are out there. I haven't looked at them, but they're there.
Thank you. Then we have the Mayor's Economic Committee. Is it geared to larger businesses or from small to large?
Help me out here, economic development people. Lois, Amanda, Eric. I'm going to say all, but I'd love to hear from my economic gurus.
It's geared towards all. We have the Chamber of Commerce is represented on the Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Panel. We also have large businesses and small manufacturing businesses represented, but the advisory panel is also at the forefront of creating the city's economic development strategic plan, which covered both retail, restaurants, makers, artisans, as well as the larger business sectors.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, we have from Ben, something fun for once. The idea for the 4th of July, the mask parade, have people submit photos of themselves and their families in their best masks, and we put them together in a photo parade to be broadcast on the 4th. People could also submit little videos to include. They need to be submitted a week or so, and we would get them vetted before being included in the video stream.
Is that Ben Calica?
It is.
That's a fun suggestion. If you forward me, I'm taking notes, but man, I've been taking notes all morning and my hands cramping up. Forward me a quick email just suggesting that, and I will send it off to Amy Wooldridge, our Recreation Parks Director, who is overseeing what would have been the parade. And so I think you've all heard by now that very regretfully, but necessarily last week at our council meeting, the council did take staff's recommendation that this year we have to cancel our parade. It's this party we throw for 60,000 of our closest friends down a 3-mile stretch of our city, and we just can't do that right now and still stay safe. But we are looking for creative ways. I know Ms. Wooldridge mentioned one idea, and I mean, we could have layers of ideas that we can do. It would be to have a decorate your business window, decorate your house or your, the front of your yard or whatever. And then we could even do a map, do a virtual map that people could then take walking and bike tours 6 feet apart and wearing your masks at all times, but to see these places. So yeah, keep those ideas coming. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have another question. What programs or assistance might be available for new businesses who were in the process of opening, have not yet opened, but are committed to pursuing reopening?
Yeah, man, I worry about everything, and that's among them. Lois Butler is unmuted, so I'm going to put her on the spot. And because I cannot say enough about how wonderful our economic development team has been. Lois Butler, Amanda Gurkey, Eric Fonstein, Annie Cox is working on things too. And so what kind of advice could or thoughts can you offer, Ms. Butler?
So for businesses that are opening and they have to do construction, we have an at your service program where we will provide you with information about how to get through the city system. We will help you with the permitting process, and just make sure that you're familiar with all of the things that Alameda has going for it. And so if you would like to contact us, I will put my name in the chat box, and you can feel free to do that. A couple of the programs that we had in the past, like a facade grant program, we have put those on hold for a year because we are using those funds for grants.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have you heard what capacity restaurants will be able to seat when they are able to reopen? Or is it still based on the 6 feet distance?
So I have not had the opportunity to read the guidelines the governor just came out with, but I that's not my background. My kids are far away. Anyway, but I would say that you could certainly expect that it is going to involve 6 feet of distance, because we're talking about a virus that can travel that distance. And so there's nothing changing about staying safe from a virus, especially now before we have a vaccine, before we have a developed therapeutic, that there's some experimental things being out there. So it's, again, I haven't seen the latest guidelines, take a look at them, but I don't think we're going to get that intimate seating where we're elbow to elbow with everybody again soon.
Can we share those? Because I think they're online now.
I'm sure we can share them.
Yeah, I'll find them and try to put them in the chat box.
Yeah, covid19.ca.gov, and then you can go from there.
Okay. So we don't have any more questions, but I'd like to invite Councilmember Odie or the mayor to say a few words.
And I'll just jump in, because I had an email just a little while ago from County Public Health, and I think especially you business association leaders might want to take this. I'm going to give you a website address, but I got an email from someone who is the owner of what I would call a boutique gym. So it's a smaller fitness center sort of business, saying, well, they wanted me to sign this petition. Mayors don't get to sign petitions. And you know, I explained that we have to comply with the County Public Health's order, officer's order, but with her permission, I would forward this email to the County Public Health folks I stay in contact with. And she gave me that permission. And so I just got a nice email back. I mean, they sent this to the business owner, but copied me thanking them for their concern that small boutique fitness studios are not included in the state's stage 2 of the resilience roadmap, because gyms, like big gyms, are not going to be opening at this time in stage 2. But and this particular business owner had shared guidelines that I think even the National Association of this particular fitness center had developed, and I thought they were pretty solid. And so I just forwarded them, and I said, I'm not lobbying, I'm just sharing as a possible resource. Anyway, they told the business owner, we recommend that you reach out to the state and share your feedback. The state is looking for input on the best ways to reopen different sectors. Your suggestions and explanations as to why boutique fitness studios, but again, you could fill in the blanks, I think, of some different sectors, should not be grouped with gyms and fitness studios, might be informative for the state while they modify the roadmap and develop statewide sector guidance. Because I think what we all need to keep in mind is this is a constantly evolving situation as we learn more information, as we get more data from the testing and the hospitalizations, and sadly the death rates, although we're keeping those pretty low in our county. That then guidelines can change. And I would suggest, obviously you can communicate any way you like. I think there's strength in numbers. So it might be that business associations, or if your business is part of a larger association of, I'm not sure what, but a particular activity, you might want to, rather than all the individual business owners contacting them, you might want to have that representational communication. But in any event, take this down, and I know the ever efficient Sarah Henry will get this too. It is COVID-19, so that's COVID, the number 19.ca.gov/recovery-input/. So covid19.ca.gov/recovery-input/. So, it's, these things are not etched in stone. There is that balance to be achieved between keeping our residents healthy, because the worst thing you could do is rush back, say, open an automobile manufacturing plant before your plan has been certified and approved by your county public health officer, and have an outbreak of COVID and then really have to close down for, a good period of time and all that. We don't want to. And once we start putting shelter in place, just going back down the ladder of the strictest and, relaxing the guidelines a bit, we don't ever want to come back to what we've had to do. And every time I talk to residents and businesses, I can't thank you enough. You all have been rock stars. This isn't easy. I know your businesses are suffering, but what we're not seeing is the thousands of deaths that were predicted for our county and the surrounding Bay Area county. The number that the public health officers gave us, because I interviewed Dr. Erica Pon, our county public health officer, at my town hall last Friday, the early modeling that the public health officers saw that made them rush to issue that order to stay at home on May 16 was that if we went along as predicted, the Bay Area counties and the city of Berkeley were going to see 20 to 30,000 deaths as a result of COVID-19. That would have been a tragedy. It would have overwhelmed our hospitals, our ICUs. They did not want to go the way of Italy, where doctors were rationing ventilators, deciding who should get a ventilator and who they just didn't have one for. So we have dodged that bullet, but for a reason, because you guys have been smart and diligent. So, but again, there's that balance. People are hurting economically, more than 20 million unemployed in the country. So we do want to gradually get back. But anyway, the state wants your input about how we might be able to open your particular sector. So, share your input, and we will get through this together. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks everyone for being here.
Councilmember Odie, would you like to add any bits?
Sure, I'll be brief. I appreciate these weekly meetings. It helps keep me informed. I don't want to speak for the mayor, but I'm sure her as well, on what's going on the ground in our business community. And I think the next few months are going to be rough. So we had our grant program. We'll get the first results on who's going to receive those grants. And I would encourage our business organizations and our small business owners to keep sending us ideas and talking to our great staff over in economic development on, if we need to expand on that program or, make it better, make it bigger. I think we're going to be open to any and all suggestions that can help provide money to our small businesses, because this is not going to be an easy time when we start reopening. So I just want to again extend my appreciation to our economic development team, and Lois and Debbie and Eric and everybody, and especially Sarah Henry, who again, every time I see her, is in the Emergency Operations Center, which is where we're managing everything. So kudos to our staff, has done an amazing job, and we'll get through this together, and we're here for you, and just keep coming at us with questions and suggestions. Thank you.
Well, there are no more questions in the inbox. So for this week, I think we can conclude our Tuesdays at 2 and 2:30. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and please feel free to submit questions in advance, especially your suggestions for featured speakers.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everyone. It's always great to see you. Take care. Stay safe. Wear your masks when you're outside. All right. Bye-bye.